So here we go for our late summer protocol, all things spleen, all things stomach. The energy is center. The season is about warmer weather. We want to work on our dynamic muscle strengthening so we can get some more strengthening in the body to create some more protein, and we can use that in our winter months, in the cooler months. So that's the process that we do in this late summer season. Seasonal movement is really helpful to care for your body with a little bit more mindfulness. So we will want to maybe do a strengthening practice in the winter when the body's really cold. So this is a perfect time of year to really start adding some more muscle strengthening. But we're going to start first with let's see, what should we start with? Let's start with shaking. So we're going to turn on our applications for the day. Similar to, you get up and you might put your phone on or your computer on and you start your applications, with different things, programs that you need to work with. So we want to do the same thing with ourselves. Think about turning yourself on to the day. Of course, you can do this practice anytime during the day, but it's really nice for the morning. I always tell people, if you can get up a little bit earlier in the day and do some sort of practice, it really does carry over into your day. You don't want to start your day stiff and tight. You don't want to start your day, with a lot of emotionality. You don't want to start your day with congestion and compression, because during the day, that's all going to happen. So why add it on? Start with a maybe flexible, strong, clear body and a clear mind, and then the day might go a little bit smoother. Again, the mindfulness of ourselves is really important. We can practice this all day long, mindfulness, how to check in with yourself. Am I comfortable here? Am I discomfort? Do I feel discomfort? And then go in and maybe do a little bit of movement, do a little bit of breathing. And it's amazing how it won't stick to you as much. You can let it go, you pass it on, let it regenerate, pass it on back into the earth, Mother Earth, Gaia. Gaia means Mother Nature, and we can always recycle anything. So think about you just kind of, shaking off anything you don't want to hold on to. We're shaking to circulate as well. Very hot time of year. It's very humid here on the East Coast. Creates a lot of inflammation in the joints. So our joints can be achy a little bit more this time of year. So by just shaking, you're actually stimulated some fluids to move through the joints so they're not quite as inflamed. So for this time of year, heat rises naturally and water falls. So think of your body the same way. Heat's going to rise up into your upper part of your body, the heart and the head this time of year because heat rises. Water falls, which makes your lower extremities filled with too much fluid, which can create a lot of inflammation and swelling. So you might notice that your legs are swelled up a little bit more often. That's a big indication you got to move and start getting those fluids moving. So if we need to get the heat out of our upper body to cool off the heart, especially, it's very strenuous for the heart, the heat, and we start to plug into turning on our cooling system. And that's what the practice is about. It's understanding these different things that we can do for ourselves to self-regulate. So we're shaking right now, and we can continue that breathing process of inhaling, receiving this life force of oxygen that it moves through your system as you're shaking around as well. And then you blow it out gently through the mouth as you're releasing the toxins. So 70% of our toxins are released through the exhalation of your lungs, and 30% is through the skin and also your digestive system of elimination. So again, we have this rich oxygen we receive from plants and trees. It helps us with our health, our cells. We need it to live. And then we exhale the carbon dioxide, which is our waste material. But that waste material helps to keep the trees and the plants alive. So we have this connection, this very deep connection with nature. So we're shaking now, and shaking it off and circulating, and then stop. And maybe you'll start to feel or sense some clearing out, some tingling usually what you feel. Look at your hands, are they pink? Are your feet warm? Is your mouth moist? Those are indications you've got some good circulation. We're going to continue with some more circulation by just rocking forward and back on your feet. Now you always keep the knees soft, you never lock the knees. When you move forward on the feet, you're activating your kidney meridian, the wellspring. The kidney meridian regulates all your fluids. So you always want to keep that activated. So anytime you're just standing still, don't stand still, just rock forward and back, knowing that you're always activating those fluids. You're moving that fluid around. So that's what we're doing. And now we're just going to lift the arms up and back. When you lift them up, the palms faced up. When you go down, the palms face down. So palms up and then down, palms up and down. And we swing now. So now we're swinging. The arms don't have to come higher than your shoulder. We're just starting to create this activation, this energy activation, the circulation in our body. We're also starting to get some synovial fluid in our joints, our knees especially, and our shoulders especially. And we're bringing some of those, moving the fluids around, circulation, activating the heart rate a little bit. Lymph nodes are in underneath the armpits, are also activating the lymph fluids, the lymph nodes. And the arms are very relaxed. The hands are very relaxed, especially if you have arthritis in the fingers and the wrist. Just let them go, just relax them. That'll help with cooling some of that inflammation down and just relaxing them, getting some of that, if you have any pain, to release that pain. And we're inhaling through the nose, and you can continue to push it out through the mouth. And then we're going to add throwing the ball into this movement. We inhale and you throw the ball as you exhale. You inhale back to center, exhale, throw the ball. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. And then slow that down. Don't ever want to stop abruptly. And then let that movement settle into your body, just noticing how that's feeling. So we're starting to activate some of this energy. Let's come right into dynamic standing so we can tap into our power source. Feet are about hip width apart. You're engaging your legs by a couple of ways you can do this. You're going to spread the feet away from each other like you're spreading the mat between your feet. It's a very small isometric movement to engage and to lift up those arches. And then we feel this energy rising up into the tailbone. You'll tuck your tailbone under, lift your shoulders up, slide them back and slide them down your waist. Arms are at your side. There's a little space between the armpits and the side of your body. Fingertips are pointing down into the earth like lightning rods. And then the head gently sits on top of your neck. And one is fun. We lift the corners of our mouth up into this inner smile, turning on our joy factor, which drops in the hormone of dopamine and serotonin. Those are the good hormones that repair us. The cortisol hormone is the hormones from stress. It's produced from stress, and that creates inflammation. That's why we always want to check in. How are you feeling emotionally? Is this a stressful situation? Is this a healthy situation? And what am I doing with my body hormonally from that? And then 2 is shoe. We're bringing heat to our feet. 3 is tree. We're visualizing roots from the bottom of our feet into the crust of the earth. And then 4 is core. We're drawing up all of this energy from the core of the earth, the middle of the earth, biomagnetic field. We are also biomagnetic electricity, and we're connecting with these 2 magnets, and this helps us to stay grounded. It helps us not to float like in space. That's what keeps us grounded, is this magnetic pull. So we draw up this energy through our whole system, starting to feel it fill us up. Taking a couple of deep breaths here as we tap into this natural resource of energy. Now the palms of the hands will face the earth. We're going to draw up this earth energy, gather the energy all around you, and then we take these 2 energies and we start to bring ourselves into a little bit more of a neutrality, a balance, letting go of anything we don't want to hold on to, let it recycle back into the earth. And then we inhale again, we draw up, we gather all around, and then we clear out. So we're clearing our vessel for the day, wiping the slate clean. It's a brand new day. We're starting fresh and clean and clear. And then release. We're going to go right into proprioceptive activity The proprioceptor energy centers are our palms, the bottoms of our feet, and right between the nose and the mouth and around the lips. So our proprioceptors help us navigate our body, this form, this physical body in space, in our environment. It gets desensitized over time, and we lose our footing. So this helps to really activate the proprioceptors. Like, children, they can move so many different directions without falling or getting hurt because they're so highly sensitive. Their proprioceptors are highly alert, and that gets dull over time. So we're activating that part of our body that helps us navigate our body through our environment. Then we're going to do a crossover as we're also activating the proprioceptors. We crossing over the energy, crossing over our right hemisphere and left hemisphere, the brain, helps to clear out the mind. So we have a little bit of space, more space to start thinking during our day. So it's a great way to start your day. Again, you're starting the day clear and with vitality, with calmness. And then when we catch ourselves kind of off balance of that comfortable feeling, then we know we could do a couple of these little practices to help us kind of resettle in and move on without too. So the whole idea is stresses are really, it causes a lot of damage to our body. And because we're older, we don't repair as quickly, we don't rebuild as quickly as we did as children, as young people. So we really need to manually go in and do something active to help bring ourselves back to that neutrality, back to that calm state. And then slowly lower that down, shake it out, and then we'll do a little bit more crossover. So you one side to the other side, crossover. It's an energy direction. This is easy to do. If you're working on a project and you just can't seem to get through it, just do a couple of these. It'll make a big difference. And then release, let that settle in. Feel that, it's kind of like that inhale, you process and you exhale. We're processing some of this movement before we go on to the next one. Let's work with a little bit more proprioceptive activity, cupping and tapping, circulating, again, fluids. Also, this awakens a lot of our highway meridians because we want to get clear. We don't want to be congested. I was driving a lot this weekend and everything was flowing really nice on the highway. Then we come to a traffic jam and you sit there and it's congested. That's kind of our bodies. We get congested, so the flow is not happening. It's not comfortable. And then we figure out why are we congested, where are we feeling the congestion? And then again, knowing your practices, you can go in and open up those highways. This is one way of opening up your highways. So we're tapping now on the lungs because it's high humidity, and high humidity plays havoc on the system. It creates a lot of fluid buildup, and it can happen in the lungs. So we got to be careful with the lungs getting filled up with fluids, with dampness. Whether it's hot dampness or cold dampness, dampness is just not a friendly environment for our body. So we're making sure that the lungs stay clear and nothing gets exasperated. And then we tap on our thymus gland, that gland right in the center of the sternum, which helps to produce your red and white blood cells, which helps to fight off infection. So got to keep that thymus gland pink, plump, and moist. It shrivels up over time because we're not circulating, we're not eating, all those kinds of things. So we're keeping this very active and healthy, pink, plump, and moist. We'll go right into tapping the skin. So tapping the skin helps with proprioception. It also helps with keeping the skin very healthy. The skin is your largest organ, and it's your first line of defense for any kind of pathogens from entering the body. Pathogens, viruses come in through the skin, and any holes that you have in your body, like your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears. So this is doing a lot. It also brings heat to the surface of the skin, keeping it very healthy. And think of it as your first line of defense for your immune system. So just tapping is also opening up a lot of meridian highways in your system as well. So it's doing a lot. This is like just such a great practice to add to your day. And then we tap the trunk. So we've got lots of highways here, meridians here, and we also, our organs, a lot of our main organs are right in the center of our body. It's kind of the engine of our system. And tapping, vibrating helps to keep those organs healthy. It's bringing circulation to them. It's cleaning them out. So the tapping here is really very beneficial. Little fist with the hands. We're going to tap a little bit more vigorous at the femur bone, at the hip bone. This is a little bit of bone density breakdown. We want to break down the bones so they can rebuild themselves. And that's what this little bit of tapping helps to do. So I like to add different things to the one routine so as you get many different benefits from it. And then you're going to tap the backs of your kidneys, the wellspring I talked about of your body, the kidney area. Above that is your adrenals. Massage the kidneys. And then we're going to jump up and down on our heels, again, shaking the body and releasing stagnation. So that staleness, that stagnation, that compression is what can make us ill over time. So think of your vessel, you're cleaning everything out, opening everything up, and then tap down the backs of the legs. So the body can function at its optimal level. That's what we're going for, inside of the legs. A little bit of more vigorous tapping here, down the sides of the legs, and then up the legs, stomach meridian. And then let's stay at the knees a little bit more. Tap the sides, tap the front, the back. Lots of knee issues for a lot of people. It's a major highway intersection here, meridians at the knees. And it also brings some circulation, getting that synovial fluid moving in the knee joints. And then we tap and slap the groin. We've got a ton of lymph nodes here. Got to keep those lymph nodes working for us because they filter out your toxins. So we're just activating those lymph nodes. And then hold and feel that vibration again happening, stirring, moving that energy all around you. Inhale, we're going to rise up, rise to the sun. Exhale, release. Sunrise, good morning world, getting ready for our day, and release. One more, inhale, rise up and release, and just settle in. Feel that vibration of those movements and the breathing. We'll go right into our flexions. Every day and every way, we want to move our spine in forward flexions. This is a twisting flexion, very, very healthy for the spine. A lot of back pain is due to the spine not being moved in many different directions. If you're not moving in these different directions, the spine gets really tight. The spinal cord, the vertebrae all get very tight and congested, and then the body starts to go into pain because of that compression. So it's similar to a chiropractor. That's what they do. They adjust your spine to release and open it up. Release that compression is exactly what they're doing. So we're kind of doing our own adjustment here. This one you want to really try to add to your day. Just like you brush your teeth, also move the spine in these four flexions. And it's more about consistency with health. The more we do something, the better it becomes more normal for us, for the body to relate to. You create these new pathways of movement that the body looks for because it feels good. And then before you know it, then it just becomes part of your routine, is just doing these things. So spinal twist, really healthy for the spine. And it's called the knocking on the door of life in traditional Chinese medicine because we're knocking on some major meridians, kidney meridian and the lung meridian here. So I'm tapping on my lungs a little bit. So again, it's keeping those lungs clear all the time. And then slowly bring that down to a stillness and then let that vibrate, let that process, and then settle into it. Let the body settle in to that movement. Let it get really familiar with it. And now we're going to start working on a forward flexion and a back flexion. We're going to start just bending our knees, separate the feet a little bit wider than the hips. Elbows or arms or hands are on the thighs. And then you bend the knees, and we're just going to drop forward here. Shake out the head and the neck. Just let it go. And then slowly come up one vertebrae at a time, and then take your hands to your low back. You're just bringing your hips forward into a little bit of a back flexion. Just start off small. And then you inhale, exhale, coming forward again, drop forward, forward flexion. Shake out the head and the neck while you're here. Slowly curl up, one vertebrae at a time. Hands to the low back, bring the hips forward into your back flexion. So there's your back flexion. Again, inhale, exhale, come forward, drop forward, shake it out. Slowly come up, stacking each vertebrae on top of each other, hands to your low back, lean forward with the hips, back flexion. We do one more here. We come forward, shake it all out. Drop your left arm, shake it out. Do some rotations with the shoulder, really get that relaxed. So the legs are there to support your upper body so you can relax this area, the shoulders especially. Now we start to come up, and as you're coming up, you start to release, make little fists with your hand, not tight, and you reach it forward, up, twist the wrist, and take it back. Now we're doing full range of motion here with this shoulder. If this hurts in any sort of way, you don't need to do the full rotation and you don't need to use the full arm. You could simply just use your elbow or just your shoulder, or if you're in a lot of pain, take your hand and massage it. But get some sort of movement to it. The idea is that we're moving the synovial fluid around, and we're also getting our full range of motion without pain. If there's pain, there's an indication of something's off, like it's too tight, too overworked, not enough stretching. And that's where you do your own investigation. But this will give you, we want to keep the full range of motion in our arms and in our hips and in our legs. Now take it to the other direction. So start back and take it forward. And notice if there's any difference between this range of motion. So it's mindfulness. This is a mindfulness practice. We really want to be mindful of how our body feels in these movements. So we know what to do. We know how to self-care. We're going to go to the other side. So we come forward again, drop the right arm, shake it out, circles in one direction, circles in the other direction, and then slowly curl up. Again, one vertebrae at a time. Back to standing, little fist with the right fist, lift it up, twist the wrist, and turn it around. Again, now we're exploring this full range of motion in this arm. You know, if there's pinking, maybe you need a massage, maybe you need a little acupuncture to release that grip in the shoulder. Maybe you've overused it, maybe you strained it. Maybe you haven't done this motion in a while, and it's just tight. Again, and then go the other direction. So we need to understand our body, how it moves, how it feels in our environment. Do we have full range? You want to keep the full range of your body all the time. Really pay attention to that. Now we come into another forward fold again, shake it out. Both arms are released, shake them out. And then you start to shimmy the arms and you slowly work your way up. And then as you're coming up, now you're adding your hips into it. And then you can start bringing your arms into it a little bit more. And again, if it's comfortable, bringing those arms above your head. Again, another movement, very important to do, is to have that movement of the arms all the way up. Again, you want full range of motion in these major joints. So we're also activating the ribs. You're getting some movement in the ribs, which is really helpful for breathing. Since your diaphragm sits in your ribs, your lungs sit in your ribs, you want them to be able to expand with those deep breaths. If they're tight, if your ribs are really tight, if the intercostal muscles between the ribs are really tight, you're not going to get the full expansion of your breath. It's going to be harder. So we're working on this part of the body, the rib cage especially, by doing this little shimmy. And then slowly bring that to a stillness. Let it process. Let it settle into your body. Take a couple deep breaths in and out. So we can do a little bit more back and forward flexion. We're just going to do some cat dogs. So same, you're holding onto your thighs. You're going to inhale and arch the back into your dog tail. You round the spine as you exhale into your cat tail. Wonderful movement. These are to those two flexions, forward and back. And then release and then slowly come up. So we did our twisting flexion. We did forward and back flexion. Now we do side flexion. We come into our dynamic standing. We hold our energy ball right in front of us, the center. direction for this season is center. You're going to press down your right palm, the left palm comes up, separating heaven and earth. This is what this is called. We come back to our center, the direction for late summer. We separate heaven and earth. We're also working with our spleen and stomach meridians. Come back to center, because the spleen and stomach meridians run up and down. Not all the meridians run up and down. Some of the meridians are just in your arms and hands. Some of them are just in your legs. But the spleen and the stomach meridian run up and down the entire body. So this motion of separating heaven and earth, you're also activating those two major organs that we work with in the late summer. Now we come back to center, separate heaven and earth. Now we're going to lean over to one side. Now we're making this a side flexion. You're going to press your left palm over to the other side, and your right palm is in the opposite direction. So we've got this crossover happening, and also now you're opening up those the rib joints, the rib cage, the side of your rib cage, you're opening the rib heads. And then you come back to center direction, separating heaven and earth, leaning over to the right side, pressing the palms away from each other, opening up those rib heads. And then we come back to center, separating heaven and earth. Let's come onto our toes this time and stretch the feet and the ankles, drop the heels, lean over to your left side, pressing the palms away from each other, opening up a little bit deeper into the side flexion. Back to center, separating heaven and earth one more time, onto your toes, separating, stretching the feet, and then we lean over to our right side and press both palms of the hands away from each other. And then we'll return back to our center, settle in, feeling that flexion, side flexion in your body. So now we've moved the spine in every flexion. Now we're going to move it into another direction. We did crossover direction. We're going to do spiral direction, figure 8 direction, coil. We come into spinal dragon, swimming dragon. Palms of the hands are touching each other, shoulders are relaxed, separate the feet, and then we're going to dip down and we dive down. We create this figure 8 with the arms. Wonderful movement for the spine, really wonderful movement for the entire body. So really kind of float with this one. You can feel it all the way down into your feet, all the way up to the top of your head. And I like to travel up. I like to start to coil my arms up. So I'm also getting a coil movement as well. In this is a coiling direction as well as a figure 8 and a spiraling. So really nice directions for the body energetically. And it's a very soft, gentle way of getting a lot of movement in the body. So, movement is important, but it's how we move that's important. You don't want to exasperate the body. You don't want to overexert the body. You want to find a nice balance of getting a little bit, of everything without damaging the body. We have to be careful of that because our bodies don't heal as quickly. Our building blocks aren't as quick. We can stay as healthy as we can stay really healthy way up until our last days. But it's, it's learning our bodies, understanding how to move that's healthy. And then slowly release, process this movement, and just let it settle into your system. So now that we've moved the spine in many directions and the different flexions, we've centered ourselves, now we're going to add a little bit of more dynamic movement for this season to strengthen some of our, to get some muscle mass on our body. We're going to start with tiger claw hands. And we keep that active as we bring the hands back and forth, up and down. And this helps to get that synovial fluid moving again in the elbows, in the wrists, in the shoulders. Also by activating those fingers, you're activating some major meridians in the fingertips. And it's really good if you have arthritis because this helps to stimulate get that inflammation down, getting that stimulation going in the arms and the fingers and the wrists. Now we add a little bounce to it. We're going to add a little bounce to it to start activating those thigh muscles, the larger muscle groups in our legs. And as we're doing this, you'll feel this in your glutes as well. If you want to add a little bit, take that back foot back And now we're bouncing a little bit deeper, maybe coming down a little bit more, activating the glutes and the thighs. You're also activating your lymph nodes, which are underneath your armpits and in the groin. So a lot, again, going on here. You're activating, upgrading your heart rate, strengthening the heart muscle. So, these are just nice movements to do. You don't need any equipment for them. Again, you can go in on your own and add some weights if you'd like, and add a little bit more muscle strengthening. Continue with breathing, inhaling and exhaling, and then we'll slowly bring this down to a stillness. Let that process, let that settle in as we come into our next movement. So we kind of lose our spring to our step. So we're going to add a little spring to our step as we settle in. So we have the big toe and the toe next to it houses our meridian points for our spleen and our stomach. So we're going to activate that, also getting another movement, side movement, which is very beneficial to our body. But just step your left foot out to the side, but you're on your toes. So you're activating those meridians, stomach and spleen. And then release the heel, and then you bring the other toes in, and then step out. So you're stepping, I did that backwards. So we're stepping in on the toe, you step it out, step it in on the toes, step it out. Step in, step it out, step in, step it out. So you're activating those meridians in the toes. We're starting to get side movement. And now we're going to add a little bit of a spring to it. So we start to spring it. You step, you step, you step, you step. So we're springing it. We're adding a little bit of bounce to it to the side. We did tiger claw bouncing forward and back, but this one is side to side. So you want to be able to go quickly from side to side too. We want this range of motion. We want this kind of motion. We don't want to lose that little bit of spring to our step. So we're doing several things here. Activating those meridians, getting the side stretch, getting that flexibility, that mobility in our legs, that little bit of spring. Now, if you can't get that in, just do this. Just start there. Maybe intervals, this, and then add the step in. Also, this helps with your heart rate. You're bouncing again. You're getting your heart rate up a little bit. So you could do intervals with it. And then bring that to stillness, let that process, let that settle in. Another movement we need to get in our body at all times is being able to get down and to get all the way up. To get down and to get all the way up. So we're grabbing the balls down, grab them, and then throw them. Grab the balls and throw them. Grab the balls and throw them. Now take one foot back if you want to, add a little bit more to this. Grab the balls and throw them. So now we're able to go up and down with the feet separated. So this helps with, again, the proprioception activity, getting that activated so you can move your body up and down in space without falling over. The spring in your step. Taking the other foot back and grabbing and coming up. So this activity here, we want to keep all the time. Being able to go down and up. Down and up. Down and up. Let that settle in. Let that process. Let your body feel that. Let's gather. Let's balance all this out. All that energy we created and cultivated. Let's go from side to side. Again, another way of moving the body, but also find a flow to it. Let it relax. We want to find dynamic relaxation with all the dynamic strengthening and dynamic standing. We also want to find dynamic relaxation. And that's the whole practice, is finding these feelings of relaxation, of vitality, energy, flexibility, feeling grounded and rooted. And then visualize if you feel any congestion still left in your system, imagining that area getting infused with some more energy to relax it, to open it up so we can open to a flow. Then let that process in your system. So the flow today will be the water wheel. Because I talked about heat rises, water goes down. So we want to get this too much heat in the upper body right now because of the heat in the season. And we got to get that heat down into the lower extremities where we need. If we have too much water, fluids in the lower extremities, you're too wobbly and you'll be too swollen. So we got to get that fluid up to cool off this upper body so we can get the heat down into where we need that heat. So we're turning on our cooling system right now. So we let's activate our hands again, or chi, briskly rub your knuckles, briskly rub your nails, and then you'll feel some activity between the palms of the hands. This is your chi ball, this is your energy ball. We're gonna take this energy ball and we're gonna lift it up and bring it over the head and take this ball down, feeling that energy between your hands. Now, as we inhale, visualizing a cool blue light traveling up your back, over your head, down the heart, and then after the heart, then you're taking the heat out of the body and we're bringing it down into the lower extremities. Inhale, visualizing a cool blue light coming up your body, over the head, cool blue light down the heart, and then start to exhale, releasing the heat down to your lower extremities. We're going to add something else. Inhale, tongue to the roof of the mouth as you inhale up, cool blue light. As you exhale, tongue removes from the roof of your mouth as you get the heat down. Inhale, tongue to the roof of the mouth. Exhale, release the tongue from the roof of the mouth. We continue with this. Inhale, tongue to the roof of the mouth, coolness up. Exhale, release the tongue, heat down. Inhale, tongue to the roof of the mouth, coolness up. Exhale the tongue, heat down. Inhale, tongue to the roof of the mouth, cool blue light. Exhale, release the tongue, heat down. Hold your chi ball at your center. Take all that moisture in your mouth and then swallow it. And you've created enzymes to help with your digestive system. You brought that moisture to your mouth where you want it. And take a couple of breaths here. Let that settle in. Let the coolness rise up and the heat drop down. Finding that neutrality of your heating system, your cooling system. And then we draw up that earth energy again. Draw up that earth energy. Flip the hands up and gather all that energy around you. Let this movement become a meditation in motion as you travel this energy down, as you're starting to click and balance and find your neutrality. Recycle anything you don't want to hold on to for now. So we inhale, we draw up the earth energy, we gather all the energy around you, and you let it move through you, creating that neutrality. This is called cultivating the energy. And let that energy you don't want to hold on to, let it recycle back into the earth. And we do one more. We gather the earth energy. We gather all the energy around us and above us, heaven and earth. And we create this neutrality of our body, of our mind, of our emotions, of our energy, of our spirit. As we come back into dynamic standing, just noticing how you're feeling, process all of that. And then we do one more, we gather again, we bring the palms of the hands together, and then we slide the hands, the Lotus mudra. We moved out of the mud and the rich soil up and traveled through the stem, and we bloom into enlightenment. We bloom into our own light. Take a few breaths here into this Lotus mudra. And set an intention for your day, because you're energetically wide open here. Today I invite into my life. What do you need? Ask for it. And then you close the bloom. Let it restore itself. Restore your energy. Restore your light. Protect it. And then we return back to where we started, back into our chairs, back into our inner temple, so we can discern and let this settle in, let this practice settle in. So this becomes a full practice. Settling in before you move out into your day. Let this practice settle in and permeate through your system. Let it go deep within your consciousness so you can refer to these feelings whenever you need to, these movements whenever you need them. We'll end with 3 rounds of Om. The symbol, the sound of peace is a universal sound of peace. First, we send it to ourselves. The second one would be for your community or anyone who needs some extra light or peace. And then the third Om is for the world. Holding our hands, holding that sacred space for the world. In the palm of your hands, in your breath, and in your sound of Om. So we'll begin by inhaling. Om. Letting that vibration of peace permeate through your entire being. We'll bring the palms of the hands together as we seal our practice, letting it bring for you whatever you need. Thank you for joining me in this late summer practice of Qigong. Namaste.